up, troops? Hey, Littleton here again with another video. This time, we're going through all the Year 8 Season 2 patch notes, so all the changes that are coming to the operators and to the game for Year 8 Season 2. We've got them in front of me. Well, you know, last time I kept talking about production value. Well, we're doing this in one take. I'm not even going to cut. I'm just going to press the transition button straight into the screen. Look at that. No cut. Unreal. Absolutely outrageous. Hollywood are quaking in their boots. Right. We're going to go through the ban data. Let me just get it on PC first. We're going to compare PC and console because I think it's interesting to talk about. I won't dwell on it for too long. But on PC, I've looked at these already, so I'll try and summarize it for you. So on PC, we've got Iana, Ashe, and Ace as the top 3 picks on attack. On console, we've got Iana, Ace, and Ashe as the top 3 picks on attack, which is interesting because not a lot of people like playing Ashe. You would have thought that Zafira would be picked more, given more utility. Other entries, like Nock, for example, getting frag grenades might be picked a little bit more. But on both console and on PC, Ashe is in the top 3 picked operators, which is really interesting. So what we need to look at really when it comes to the win versus presence delta, which is what this is you don't want to see anyone sky high win rate because that means they're too strong. You don't want to see anyone sky low, bottom of the pit, bottom of the pile when it comes to win rate because that means they're not strong enough. You don't want to see anyone pick too much because that means they're a crutch and everyone can just rely on them. And you don't want to see anyone pick too little because that means they're useless. So in an ideal world, all the operators will be bunched up together around this area here, which means all the operators are picked roughly the same amount of time. They all win roughly the same amount of games and everything's hunky-dory. That's... Oh, my laptop's going. So ignore that a second. That's not a realistic world. You're never getting operators that work like that. It's always going to be stronger operators and weaker operators, and that's just the way it is. Excuse me. I don't know if you can hear this through the mic. You probably can't. My daughter is outside waving at me from the garden, and I'm just saying hello there. Yeah, I'm just making a little video for all the good people of Siege. You probably won't be able to hear that. But yeah. I'm leaving this in. I'm not editing it. I told you, one take. Production values through the roof. I'll speak to you soon. I'll be out in a minute. I say a minute. About 10 minutes. Right. Sorry. They're planting tomato seeds in the garden, and I should probably go and get involved. But Year 8 Season 2 is coming out. Come on. So, just to go through everything once more, we've got Iana, Ashe, and Ace as the top 3 picks on attack on console and on PC as well. So, swapping down to defenders. We've got what I think this is crazy, really. We've got Jaeger as the highest picked defender on PC. More presence with Jaeger than any other operator, which I think is a bit mad, really, because I feel like he doesn't have that much impact anymore. But obviously he does. He's still a really good operator. That ADS is still up there with the best gadgets around. So interesting that he's there on PC. On console, you only see him in just over 30% of games, which again is quite interesting. Something else that's interesting, I'll say interesting a few more times here, is that Oryx and Mozzie are the 2 highest picked defenders on console. And on PC, Oryx is way back here at just over 10%. This tells me that the nerf that we had mid-Year 8 Season 1, taking Oryx's 1.5 away, did what it needed to do on PC. On console, absolutely not. It's still through the roof. How else do you nerf him on console? I don't know. But on PC, it's done its job. But yeah, Warden is really popular on PC, also really popular on console. Mozzie, 45% presence on console and only 25% presence on PC, which is interesting. Clash is way down there, not picked. This is a problem, the delta for Clash, and again, it's not great on console either. I actually think people play Clash incorrectly. I think Clash is very, very strong, but for some reason, people walk towards the enemy with Clash. I don't know why you do that, because your weakest pointer with Clash is when you're next to your enemy. Like, you want to keep as far away distance as you can. We're still within range of zapping, but you don't want to walk to what people do that. They just walk towards them. And then the attacker will run towards the shield, hit the bottom of the shield and shoot their ankles. And you're like, well, why don't you just keep your distance? I think the difficulty with Clash is once you lose a couple of defenders, say you're in a 3v5, Clash is no good in a 3v5 because it essentially means you're in a 2v5 with a shield. You know what I mean? So once you're on the ascendancy, Clash is superb, but you've got to get that ascendancy. So ban rates on PC. Let me just pause these videos. Ban rates on PC, Jackal, Thatcher, Dockerby as the top ones. Not surprising Osa and Dockerby in the top 4, given the EMPs that they now get. Thatcher and Jackal are obvious bans. I actually hate playing Jackal. I would nerf Jackal to the ground and I never want to see him again. I despise the fella. I feel like he just needs a bit of a change. I feel If Jackal scans footprints, then only Jackal sees where the ping is. I don't feel like the whole team should see that. Maybe that's one way of changing him, but I don't think it takes much to play Jackal. Do you know what I mean? You just walk in the building and go, oh, there's a footprint, or just scan that. That's exactly where somebody is. Great. Like, there's just, you know what I mean? There's no element of skill to it or something. You just walk in the building and look at the floor and sniff feet. But anyway, I've got a bone to pick with Jackal, and now probably isn't the right time for it. On console, the ban's somewhat similar, well, exactly similar for the top two. Then it gets weird to me on console. Why is Blitz the third? I know this is third, but this is no operator. Why is Blitz the third most banned operator on attack? I don't know why, because is he that good on console? Is it that oppressive to play against Blitz? And this I don't get either. Although I actually do get it, because I think Fuse is an excellent operator and drastically underplayed. Having 4 cluster charges, an insanely good gun in the AK, and hard breach charges, he's outrageous. But I wouldn't have thought you'd see the ban. I mean, on PC, the ban's on PC here, the ban's nowhere to be seen for Fuse. But interestingly, no OSA ban until the 5th most banned operator on console. Interesting. It's just mad how it's the same game but different. Do you know what I mean? But similar in some, like, you know, Thatcher Jackal, Miracade, still in the top 3. This blows my mind as well. Kapkan is banned in 65% of console games. That's wild. Like, I get he's good, and on PC he's the 4th most banned op, but like, it's mad that he's banned that much. This is mad as well, by the way. Valkyrie, 3rd most banned op on PC, and I know why, because she gets a C4 and 3 hidden cams anywhere in the map. Like, that information is insane. Console, 4% of games Valkyrie's banned. Mozzie is banned just as much as Valkyrie. What is that about? What's going on console? Do you not want free information? Like, do you want your enemy to have just 3 hidden cams so you can just tell you where they are? Or, I guess on console, teamwork and cross communications and open mic talking is probably not as prevalent. Therefore, maybe Valkyrie isn't quite as useful, perhaps. Gadget balancing. This is where we get fruity, and I'll try not to dwell too long on this because I could be here all day. Observation blocker, a brand new gadget. It's going to be very, very interesting how this works. How this works. There's 2 scenarios I can think of right off the bat, or 2 areas of maps. Cafe, top floor. You open the 2 hatches as an attacker, right? You open red hatch and you open new hatch. What you then do, generally the support player will drop a drone through the hatch and will put it under the table, looking at new balcony, or heaven balcony, should I say, and double piano door on a bit of a right angle. Or they'll put their drone as the red stairs flank and then use the second drone to do what I just said. All the defenders need to now do is put an observation blocker on piano double door, and you can't see any information to piano. You know, you've got to go all the way through. You've got to go. Of course, when I record this video, my phone has rang about 4 times, and I'm trying to like press silence before it rings out loud. So, yeah, the observation blocker is going to be, it could be a game changer. Now, I want to give you a different scenario. And I think that you're going to see Brava's pick. If this picks up like I think it will, you're going to see Brava's pick rate through the roof. Because you're going to be able to hack observation blockers fairly easily to an extent, because they're not going to be right inside. They're going to be on the doorway to site. So you can drive a drone up quite sneakily, take the observation blocker. But take that scenario I just said, piano double door on cafe. You've put an observation blocker on there so the drone underneath new hatch can't see through. Right, okay. Well, if Brava just hacks that observation blocker, how many times at the back of cafe near the stage do you see a bulletproof camera, a Maestro camera, or a Valkyrie camera? Okay, well, Brava hacks that observation blocker. Now, not only can the attacker drone see through to piano, but the defender cam can't see out. Brava's changed the game, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see where the observation blocker gets used, and if the observation blocker gets used. Because bear in mind, you've got to make a case for taking an observation blocker over a bulletproof camera, a deployable shield, barbed wire, impact, etc., prox alarms, etc., etc. So, who gets them? Ala, Rook, Warden, Cav, Cade, Maestro, Pulse, Alibi, and Jaeger. There's some names on there which you think, hang on, what are they losing? We'll get into that in just a second. Operator balancing then, this is the juicy stuff. Alibi, removed shield, removed impacts, added observation blocker, added prox alarm. This is a buff to Alibi, and I'll tell you why. Nobody, when you play an Alibi, uses the shield anyway. If you drop the shield, if you choose the shield, you put the shield in sight for someone to play behind. You don't use the shield on the roam. You don't need the impact grenades because you've got a Bailey secondary, so you can open hatches and make rotes and make rotes. Rotes? You can make rotes anyway, so you don't need the impacts to make rotes. The observation blocker will be useful if it's used in the way that I think it's going to be used, but prox alarms for a roamer is the best secondary gadget. Imagine master bedroom on Clubhouse. You're roaming upstairs for whatever reason, they're attacking basement or whatever. You can now put a proximity alarm on construction door, con door, and gym window, for example. So if anyone jumps in gym, if anyone jumps in con or comes through con, you're going to know they're there. Actually, the best place to put a prox alarm in con is on the back of the wood pile. I'll show you one day. If you ever come into the stream, ask the question, I'll show you what I mean, because it'll get the window and the door. So that as a roamer is a better option than a deployable shield. For your site players, they want the shield, but if you're on the roam, the prox alarms are great. So I think that's a buff to Alibi. Clash gets a deployable shield. What's that about? Who's doing that? I'll come on to this in a second and remind me. You can't remind me because this is a video, but I'll try and remind myself to talk about deployable shields, about who's losing them and who's getting them and how that's going to affect things. Not much to say. If you do play Clash, you would probably take it because... Well, would you take it? So you've got to make yourself a rotate, and when you need to make a rotate with Clash, you need to make it big enough that you can walk through whilst your shield's up. 2 impact grenades will do that for you. You could take the super shorty, but Clash is an absolute monster when she's got that secondary SMG. So taking the super shorty to make rotates is a bit of a waste. It means you haven't really got anything to fight back with if you need to. So I don't know if you're going to see that much, but we'll come on to why that's important. Goyo, feel for the guy. He's lost his C4, but I do agree with it. The devs make a really good point here. He already has a load of area denial. 4 Vulcan canisters, burn for 20 seconds each. That's 80 seconds of area denial. It's almost half a round, right? You can't then give him a C4 as well for more area denial on top of that. Plus, losing C4, but getting a bulletproof cam, getting impacts. You'd probably take the impacts, I imagine. But now you could maybe put, and I haven't really done any testing on this, but you could maybe put Goyo canisters in places where you don't need a line of sight to make them explode. You could throw an impact and that could make them explode. I don't really know where that would be viable, but it's just something I'm thinking about off the top of my head. So, yeah, I agree with that. It's sad because I like Goyo, and I think Goyo was actually underutilized in ranked recently. I think he was one of the strongest operators. But yeah, it's a shame, but I think I probably agree with it. Right, our boy Grim. Massive, massive buff for Grim. I can sum this up in a couple of words here, which is strange for me because normally I talk for far too long. Grim's Hive launcher now fires faster, deploys faster, deploys for longer, and covers a bigger area. So you can fire the Hive launcher faster, the bees deploy from the canister faster, they last longer, and they cover twice their area. So the area they cover now is 4.6 meters instead of 3.6, and this is big. The duration is now 16 seconds. I can't remember what it was who said. I think it was Bikini Body. Shout out Bikini Body. I think it was Bikini who said, if you think about it, the diffuse time is 45 seconds. You get 4 canisters, right? So with 3 canisters, that's 48 seconds. Once you've planted, you can cover the diffuser and bees for the entire duration that the bomb needs to defuse with 3 canisters. So you've got a spare 1. So once you've planted, any post-plant situation, post-plant I think I've just said, ignore that, production value. Post-plant situation, you can now just batter the diffuser with bees for non-stop for 45 seconds, which is interesting. Obviously, it's going to be, it sounds pretty strong, but you've got to get into that post-plant situation first. This is big as well. Added the Bayleaf as a secondary weapon option and added hard breach charges as a secondary gadget option. Does anyone on attack have the Bayleaf? I know Doc, Alibi, Maestro. Does anyone have the Bayleaf on attack? I can't think off the top of my head. But it's a big change for him. He can now open hatches. Doesn't need a hard breach charge. Doesn't need the breaching charges or the claymore. If you want to take that, you can now take breaching charges, which is big on sites like Clubhouse Basement. You can now open 2 hatches for free with Grim, and he's got a Bayleaf to make rotates, and he's got loads of bees knocking about the place, and he's got a great gun with an extended barrel in the 5.52 Commando. Bit of a buff that for me. Well, I say bit of a buff, big buff. I'm going to do a video that compares old Grim and new Grim when I've got access to the test server today. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. Now, there's another buff coming to Grim in Season 4. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's going to be. My daughter's outside again. Yeah. Just doing a video. Sorry, folks. Just doing it. Won't be long. I can hear her. She's shouting so loud. You probably can't hear her through the mic, but she's at the window here. So yeah, big biff for Graham. Big buff for Graham. Jaeger, this is upsetting. Jaeger's lost his barbed wire but got an observation blocker. I know why. It makes sense what they've said here. You want to try and hide the ADS from drones outside the door. I get that. But Jaeger barbed wire is synonymous. There's so many setups I have with Jaeger where I'm playing main stairs on Villa and I put barbed at the bottom of the stairs. It's so helpful. But yeah, no more barbed wire for Jaeger. I think that's a bit of a nerf, maybe, depending on how well the observation blockers get used. Pulse, this is another interesting one. Remove barbed wire and gutted. Added a deployable shield and an observation blocker. So Pulse now has C4, deployable shield, observation blocker. No one's taking an observation blocker or a deployable shield with Pulse when you've got literal wall hacks and a C4. You're never ever going to take it, are you? So you might as well wave goodbye to that shield. And this is where it gets fruity. Smoke. Lost deployable shield, added prox alarm. It pains me because I play a lot of Smoke and I've got a lot of setups where I use the shield, but I think it's the right decision. And the fact that I'm annoyed about it, because, well, not annoyed, the fact that I'm upset about it because I play a lot of Smoke probably tells me it's the right decision. Smoke's got everything. Great shotgun to an extent. Great, probably the best gun on defense in the SMG11 if you can control it. Unbelievably good area denial. It does a lot of damage. A shield, he's 2-speed, he's got everything. He's the perfect defender. And that's why you see him in almost every Pro League game, almost every rank game. He needed a little bit of a nerf, and it pains me to say that because he's one of my favourite operators. But losing the shield, added the prox alarm, makes no odds with the prox alarm, does it? You got barbed and a prox alarm now, makes no odds which one you use, really. Both do the same job to an extent. So I do agree he needed a bit of a nerf because he was too good, but it pains me to say that. That brings me back to when I told you to remind me about shields. So who's lost shields from this conversation that we've just had? Alibi and Smoke have lost shields. Who's gained shields? Pulse and Clash. Why is that important? How many rounds do you see Alibi and Smoke? A lot, right? 78% of rounds is at least an Alibi or a Smoke, sometimes both. So that's at 2 shields. How many rounds do you see Pulse and Clash? 10% of rounds, maybe, the 2 of them. So Attack have now got to essentially clear 2 less shields because the Smoke isn't going to have one, your Alibi ain't going to have one. Very few people are playing Clash and very few people are playing Pulse, depending on the site. And if you are playing Pulse, you're not taking a shield anyway. You're going to take the C4. So it's dead interesting to think that this whole patch for me is sort of attacker-sided. Grim buff, Smoke lose shield, Alibi lose shield. It's definitely in the favour of the attackers for me. Then we come on to Tachanka. Not a big deal. Added prox alarm. Tachanka gets a shield anyway. It's interesting what Ubisoft said here. We expect the decision won't be easy and we'll leave some space for other area denial defenders. So Tachanka and Goyo are probably going to step in. Tachanka's actually decent, man. He's LMG's slept on. And the 9x19, he has a 1.5 and a 2x. Like, how mad's that? How good's that? It's insanely good. A 2x on the 9x19 on defense. Yes, please. He's really good. So, and he gets a shield, which apparently nobody has anymore. So, I think you might see a bit more Tachanka, maybe. This is interesting. Thunderbird. This is a buff and a nerf for 2 different reasons. I'll tell you why. Starting with the changes to the Kona station. I don't know why I've got my arm in the air. Starting to the changes to the Kona station. Cooldown is reduced to 15 seconds from 35. So you get a boost on the Kona station 20 seconds in 20 seconds less time. Was 35, now 15 seconds. So it takes 20 seconds less to get a boost. However, the boost goes to 20 HP from 30. So you lose 10 HP per boost, but you get a new one every, like, I can't think of the word I want. Every 20 seconds more often? I don't know what I want to say. Every 15 seconds, they're every 35. So if you just pick 35 seconds as a yardstick or as a measure, that would mean the old system, you would get 30 HP every 35 seconds. Now you're going to be able to get 40 HP every 30 seconds. So it's a buff on that front. Granted, for the Roamer that comes back for a squirt of health and then disappears again, they're going to have to stick around for another 15 seconds. But on the whole, I think that's a buff. Where it's a nerf for Thunderbird comes to the secondary gadget. So she's lost impacts, lost nitrocell, gains barbed wire, gains bulletproof camera. That to me is a nerf because, yes, we lose the explosives, but the impacts, I don't think she should have a nitrocell anyway. Already very strong, on the roam all the time. Should she have a nitrocell? I don't know. We could have an argument about that all day. The impacts are what makes a roamer good. You think about good roamers, Legion, Alibi, Yes, Alibi's lost her impacts, but she can still make rotates if she's stuck in a situation. You can open a hatch, you can make a quick rotate. When you're a roamer, you need to be able to not get pinched and be able to move around the map. Thunderbird now has no ability to move around the map. 2 unbelievably good guns on defense with the spear and the bearing, or even the shotgun that I can never remember the name of that Cav has as well. Good guns, 3 speed, good gadget, fast, but now if you get stuck in Logi on Clubhouse, you're not getting out. You know, if you get stuck in Gym on Clubhouse, you're not getting out. If you get stuck in wherever you get stuck in, you've got to take the fight. There's no, I can just drop this hatch quickly. So I think not having impacts will affect us slightly. The C4, yeah, it's gutting because it's almost a free kill each round if you use it right, but yeah, not having the impacts is more of an effect there, I feel. Kona Station buff, but yeah, there you go, that's it. That's Year 8 Season 2 in a nutshell. A lot of good changes, a lot of changes that are going to be interesting to see how they play out, especially the shield situation and the observation blocker situation. Cheers for watching if you got this far. Let's have a go on the test server in the next couple of weeks, and let's look forward to the season launch in whenever that's going to be, another probably 3 or 4 weeks from now. But if you got this far, cheers for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!